Hey guys, and welcome to part 3 of my Cosmic Ripples crochet along. So what we're going to do is I am using two new colours for this video. So I'm using this really bright kind of orangey pink colour and this electric purple. Now I'm only going to be doing one of each round in these colours, and then we are going to pop them to side and use these two colours again, or whatever you've used for these squares. So with our 4mm crochet hook, join me along for the next part of this video. Right, so this part of the video is just going to be two rounds. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to connect onto the corner of one of well, just a corner basically, doesn't matter which one. And we're just going to go all the way around the entire blanket in a double crochet. So I'm just doing my corner like any other corner. Reason why I'm just using two colours and doing two rounds is because I want to now create a little bit more separation in between these colours and these colours, so when we come to do our filling in our corners, it's just going to tie this into that but still separating it out because it's a new piece, if that makes sense. It makes sense to me. So what I'll do is I'm just going to go down to this corner just so it's 100% clear what we need to be doing. So I'll do this on camera because it's not going to take me long. Remember to work in those pesky tails as you're going along. That's why I've left my black ones out, because I can pop all those underneath and weave those through on this round. So I'm just doing stitch for stitch like the rest of what we've been doing so far, just double crochets. Nothing too fancy for these two rounds, but when we come to fill those corners in, I have something a little bit more special up my sleeve. Well, I never wear sleeves, but you know what I mean. So I'm nearly coming about halfway to my corner now. Just loving all these bright neon colours together at the moment. The weather's been absolutely dreadful, storm after storm here in England at the minute. Right, nearly coming up to this corner. Now with these you do have to be a little bit more careful because we don't actually have a full corner space like we have had on these. So what you want to do is you just want to find out where your actual corner is. I know I'm using black again, so that would be, if you follow along this row, that would be this one here, because if you see, that's our corner from the previous row where my finger is. So 1, 2, and it's going to be, our last one is going to be this one, so I've got another 2 stitches to do. So 1 and 2. So on this row I have 1, I'll just count these. On this row I have 22 stitches. I'll just double check in case I miscounted. Yeah, 22 stitches across. So that means up here should be 22, and on all your other squares as well. If it's not, just pop. If you're a stitch out, either way, pop in an extra one or decrease one somewhere across here. You know, this kind of blanket, it is quite forgiving if your stitch count is not 100%. So same again on this side. Find out where your corner is from your from this part of your blanket. Count 2 stitches and go into that third one. And that just gives you a new kind of new hole, or a new corner even. So we're just going to do this for 2 rounds, one colour per round, and I will be back after those 2 rounds. So follow me back on then. Right guys, so what we've just done is these 2 rows what run the entire way around our blanket, and now what we're going to do is the next 2 rows is going to be only working from the corner here to the opposite corner connected onto this side. So you want to do these 2 rows on all 4 corners of this this first section first. So follow me on for these next 2 rows. Right, so what we're going to do is we are going to go back to our colours, what we use for these ridged squares. And what we're going to do is I am going to find my second double crochet and just pop my hook through, draw up a loop, and I'm going to double crochet straight into this stitch just underneath. And I'm going to take this tail down there whilst I'm at it. So I want 4 in total. Don't worry if that's a bit loopy there. You can just give it a bit of a tug, and that should sort itself out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, this is squeaky today. 4. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a bobble stitch. So to do that, what we're going to do is all this is worked into the next stitch. So we're going to do, it's like 5 double crochets all in one stitch, but we don't finish them. So I'll run through this with you a couple of times. So yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 only. So then we have 2 loops right there. Then yarn over, go back through that same stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2 only. So that means we've got 3. Go through again, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. So that means we've got 3 and 4 there. Yarn over, go through, pull up a loop, yarn over, come through 2. So that means we've got 4 plus that loop on that one, and now we need 1 more. So that means we've got 5 double crochets all going to that 1 stitch there, plus we've still got that double crochet to finish there, which is how we do. So finally we're going to yarn over, and I always find it helpful if you kind of pinch your stitches a little bit, and voila. We're not going to do any chain stitches or anything like that. Just make sure you keep your tension onto this stitch, yarn over, and just go through the very next stitch what you see. And then you'll notice we do sit a little bit flat, so you kind of press it up with your finger and it makes like a 3D little textured bobble. Right, so what we're going to do, so this is our stitch repeat now. So this is our first stitch, this first double crochet directly after our bobble. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets, and then into this one another bobble. So that's 5 double crochets, half finished, all into the same stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yarn over and pull through all those stitches. Wow, sometimes even I don't get it first time. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Just need 1 more there. So it does help if you pinch your stitches and just give it a bit of a wiggle, because it just frees up any loops. And there we go. And then again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then into that 5th stitch, another bobble. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. they will all fit in there, so don't worry. And then just carry on. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 stitches. I'll just take you to the corner, and then 5 is our bobble. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And on to the next stitch, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches and then a bobble. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pull through and then do another 4 double crochets along. So that's 1. I will actually stamp all these little things out properly and towards the end. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now a bobble. 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I do apologise if I'm going a little bit quickly today. And now I'm just doing a bobble. 3, 4, and 5. Right, so what you can see here is I've only got 4 stitches left. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're not going to do any more bobbles. Just remember how many stitches we've got to go there, because we need to do the exact same on the opposite side when we're going down this side. So I have 1 stitch, 2 stitch, 3, 4. Now I can't do a bobble into there because it doesn't work in a corner. So I'm just going to make my corner. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Right. So now we're here at our corner. I'm just going to move my blanket around a little bit. It's starting to get a bit of a big project at the moment, but we'll manage. To push that bobble up. You can be a little bit rough with these, you know, it'll be fine. Right, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 there, so I need to do a chain 2 because that gets me around the corner, and I need 6 stitches. So 1, 2 in my corner, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So as you can see, these bobbles are going to be nice, evenly spaced. These ones are flattening out a little bit, but on the next round they should sort themselves out. Right, so again, bobble, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So what we're going to do is we're just going to continue in the same way until we get near to the end, which is at this square here. So it'll be there. So what I'll do is I'll join you back just before I finish this row. Right, so I'm just coming up to the end of this row here. I've got a couple more stitches I need to do, but I might as well join you for those. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and now a bobble stitch. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going to give that a little wiggle, and there we go. So we've only got a couple of stitches left here, so what we're going to do is we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and since we've one stitch short now on our starting beginning, we're just going to pop an extra stitch just to keep that square, just like that. Just put this round, and then we're going to count up 2 double crochets. So 1 and into that second. Make sure you go into the right stitch, where it can be a bit difficult to see with the angle. And then we're just going to cut the colour. Make sure you leave an end for sewing. And that is the end of the first row. So, just something a little different, a little bit more textured. So what we're going to do, join me back on for the next row. And then it's just going to be a case of doing it on all these edges. Right, second row, I'm taking my other colour, what I've been using in these squares, and I'm going to come to this edge and count 2 up. I'm not counting where I've finished, I'm counting the next 2. So 1 and 2. So that's right into that one there. Just draw up my yarn, and I'm going to go into this stitch right here. So I'm not going into that one because that's too close to that edge, because I don't want to be adding any stitches, because if I put one in there, then that's classed as an increase. So just one stitch. You can draw that in a little bit if you want, and I'm going to put in 1 double crochet in each stitch across. I will go a bit further just so you can actually see whereabouts on these bobbles you need, exactly where you need to be going into. So this is the stitch just before my bobble. I'll come a bit closer for this. Right, so if you look at this stitch here, and it has the where you would crochet into. Now what you can do with the bobble is count this as 1 stitch. So you go up and you look across for that gap. So that gap is quite easy to see here. It's just right there. So you go up and look for that space right there. So that's exactly where you need to be going into. And then with the next stitch is this one right here. It kind of tucks itself away a little bit sometimes. It's not too bad if you're using a thinner yarn like we're using today, but if you're using a chunky yarn, these stitches can disappear off. So always be careful on which stitch you're actually going into. So we're just placing 1 double crochet in each stitch. Nice easy row this time. Just going to get rid of that tail now. That's in there enough. And once again, I'm just going to take this bobble as one big stitch. I'm going to look, and go up, and then I'm going to look to my left, and that's exactly where I need to be. And then do the same with this one. So you don't have to do anything else with this. That's enough. So you go on to the next stitch, you look up and across, and there we are. So I will let you finish this row, and I'll join you just towards the end, so I can show you exactly which stitch you need to be finishing off into. Right, so I'm just coming up to the end of this row now. Been a nice easy row, this one. We like a nice easy row. So I'm just going to carry on stitching. I'm still doing double crochets here, and I want to go into each and every last one from the previous round. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn my blankie a little bit, just so I can get a better angle on what I'm doing onto this side. So this is the where we need to finish. So not counting the stitch where the previous row, but the next two, 1 and 2. So into that second one, put a nice tight slip stitch. And then cut your yarn. So that's it for this little part. So you need to do this on all 4 sides. So I've done it on 2. So I'm going to go away and do my other 2 sides, where I will be back to show you what we're going to do next. Right, so after that, the next 2 rows are going to be double crochet rows, and we're still doing alternate colours. So I've just got my orange, and I'm going to count up to my second double crochet on this side. So that's 1 and 2, just there. So I'm just going to draw up a loop. I'm going to work over this orange tail as I go, and I'm going straight into this first stitch underneath. So that's just like that, and I'm just going to give that a little tug. So for this row, I'm not doing anything different. It's just going to be stitch for stitch with double crochets. So what I'll do is I'll catch up with you at the end of this round. Right, so just coming up on the end of this row, so I've got a few stitches left. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to carry on stitching and show you a little tip. Right, so I've just hit my last stitch there. Now, if I were to go into the last stitch on every row, I would actually be losing a stitch. So what I need to do is, for this row, is put another stitch right here, if you can see. So even though there's not a stitch there, we do need to put a stitch back, just like that, and then count up 2. So this has got the previous row going into it, so not that one, but the next one. And that is the end of that row. So join me on for the next row, where we'll be changing colour back to this kind of like a plum purple colour. Right, see you in a minute. Right, so for this round, I'm back to my other colour to tie in with these squares. So just going to count up 2 again. So 1 and 2, and just join. Make sure you're in the right stitch. And again, going to work over this tail, and for this one I am going to go straight into the stitch underneath. Give that a little pull, and then just carry on like normal, making sure to work in as many ends as you can whilst you make this blanket, because we do not like sewing ends. Right, so I will catch up with you at the end of this row. Right, just coming up on the end of this round, or row should I say. So I'm just going to pop a couple more stitches in here. And one in the last. So since the last row we had this extra stitch, we don't put that stitch in this row. So your last stitch there is actually your last stitch. And then finish off like normal, so count up 2 stitches, not including the last row slip stitch. So 1 and then 2. So I'm just going into that there. Right, we're going to be changing colour again, and the next row is going to be a bobble row, so catch me on for that. Right, so I'm back to my orange colour, again to tie in with this square, and like normal I'm just going to count up to my second stitch on here and draw up a loop, and I'm going to, this row is basically the same as this row down here, so we're going to do 4 stitches, and then the 5th one is our bobble stitch. So I'm going straight into a stitch underneath. give that a little tug. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets, and then our 5th is our bobble. So again, you go in once and only pull through 2, twice, pull through 2, 3, pull through 2, 4, pull through 2, and then this is the 5th, which is our last one to make our bobble. Pull through 2, yarn over, and then pull through them all. And not, try and keep this relatively tight as you do your next stitch, because it does help the bobble to kind of like pop upwards, like so. Then what we're going to do is another 3 double crochets, 1, 2 and 3, which makes 4, including that one just after this bobble, and then we're going to do another bobble. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Right, so I'm going to leave you now to finish this row, and I will be back just towards the end. Hello, just wanted to pop on before I get to this corner. So as you can see, I've just done my last bobble stitch here, and I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. So what we're going to do in this case is just, let's have a look. What did I do on the other side? Right, so I'm just going to double crochet the rest of my stitches for this. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So I don't want a bobble right in that corner because this is enough. 6. So that's 7 and 8. Chain 2 to make my corner. Just going to turn my blank here a little bit, and then I'm going to carry on. So since I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in this corner, I am going to mimic the same on the side. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Just re-bobbling that stitch, and then I'm just going to carry on doing my bobbles until I get to the end. Right, so I'm nearly to the end of my row here. Just getting some more yarn out. So I'm just going to carry on stitching with you. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. 3, 'Thank God we're not doing many more of these bobble stitches because they do eat up a lot of yarn. So right, so I'm just going to do another bobble stitch in here because otherwise it's going to look a bit off. So that's fine, not to worry. Just means my stitch count might be a little bit out in places, but hey, it'll be fine. You know, not to worry. As long as it's not out by too much, you know, you're not even going to notice. So don't stress about little things like that. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's only crochet. I'm just going to, for this row, just finish off here. So 1 and 2. Right, so what we're going to do now is we are just going to do a slip stitch into the usual stitch. And one last row, so join me for the last row of this section of the blanket. Right, so this is the last round of this video, and I am using this dark purple colour, what I use down here, because what that's going to do is it's just going to make this into like a nice little block, what sits kind of all on its own, without having to do any sewing, even better. Right, so just into a stitch directly underneath, and stitchy stitchy all the way across in double crochet. I do apologise, but this yarn is squeaking like hell. Right, so you pretty much know how what we're doing when it comes to stitching near these bobbles. So just to refresh your memory, you can look at your bobble and go to the left, or if you're right-handed, look at your bobble and go to the right, and it's just there. And same again, look at your stitch after your bobble and go to the left. That way you just can't miss. Right, so I'm just going to continue stitching off camera, and I will join you for the end of the row. Right, just coming up to the end of this row, and as you can see I've got a couple of stitches left. So I'm going into this last double crochet right here, and then since I don't want it to kind of veer off that way, I'm going to put another one right here, just in that space. And then slip stitch into the usual stitch. So it's not this one where this orange row is going into, it's 2 above it, so 1 and 2. Right, so basically what you're going to be doing is the same on all 4 corners, and I've lost my snip somewhere. Gone into the big nowhere, I assume. Right, so basically you're going to do all 4 corners the same, and that's the end of part 3 of the Cosmic Ripples crochet along. So I am working on part 4 at the moment, or it'll be coming in a few days. But if you're watching this much later on, obviously it's going to be already on. So I will see you back for part 4 very soon. Keep on stitching, guys.